Welcome back to the Automation Podcast. My name is Shawn from Insights in Automation, and I'm doing something a little different this week. I'm actually in the new training room in the office suites we're leasing, and they're actually still building offices here, so there's some construction going on. And of course, you can see this is kind of a temporary setup. So, in any case, I did want to bring you an episode this week, though, so I'm recording this right about 2:30, so an hour before we typically release. So it may get out to you a little late, but I didn't want to leave you hanging this week without an episode. And so I thought what we would do is take a look back at Automation Fair and cover some of the high points with Logix and View. And there's a lot of cool stuff there to talk about. So without further ado, let's go ahead and switch over. And I have my screen. You may see me looking over to the side. That's just to check to make sure everything's recording and the audio's coming in correctly, because that's where I have the temporary TV monitor set up. But in any case, we're going to start with what's new and next in Logix. And this was when I went to this session, it was Dennis Wiley who was doing it. Of course, we've had Dennis on the show before. And so I figured we'd go through some of the high points of what they talked about. And let me get my mouse over to the right screen here. And one thing that he was talking about that I didn't realize is that those folks who are doing, those third party folks who are doing repairs on Rockwell products, some of them have been using um, not spec OEM parts. So they've been telling customers that they're doing 100% repair to original standards, but they were using replacement parts, and then sometimes that was causing issues. And the only reason Rockwell found out about this is because it was causing issues, and they'd have the parts sent back in. They'd find all these unspec parts, soldered onto the boards and whatnot. And so they actually won a big court case on them against these third parties because it's just not the same quality when you go with non-original components. So in any case, I figured I'd share that because that was new to me. I didn't know about that. And they also doing things for counterfeiting of labels. So they're doing like 3D. We see this in some of the new things we've bought, recycled the 3D labels and whatnot. And with that, I want to just jump right into the ControlLogix platform. And they've been talking a lot about the new compute modules they have inside a Logix. To me, I've always thought these computers in a module were just so expensive that they were kind of priced out of, most applications. But they did spend quite a bit of time talking about this. They have not just the compute module, but the Edge compute module now, and we've talked about this on the morning news show in our previous updates. And so, you tell me, is this something you'll be using? Now, I did think it was interesting that this lower cost embedded Edge compute module for the 1756 line um, has comes with Factory Talk Optics, so like a low level edition of Factory Talk Optics at no charge. So it's kind of like a teaser to try to get you to try it, and you don't have to use it for visualization. You could use it for maybe some other, communication gateway or, whatnot. And so you can see here on the screen, they're talking about using it as an HMI or using it for OPC UA or MQTT. They also include on it too um, their remote access software. So if you need to remotely access the system, you can do it using that software. And they say it's available for custom developed C applications or C Sharp applications. So interesting, but again, even the compute module is that full blown computer in a module. They show $3 signs on that one, and then you have the Edge compute module, which is $1 sign. Again, the price there is I think still what you would find higher than a panel mount IPC for many of the major vendors. But you tell me if I'm wrong. That's kind of been my bias against these because that's what the people I work with were telling me. But in any case, another thing they were talking about too was in version 36. Now I haven't tried this, right? So this software is very expensive, so we don't have a license when we don't need it. In between filming new courses, we actually don't need to keep a license and support and spend that $10,000 or whatever it is a year to have access to the software. So in any case, but in version 36, they did add a OPC UA embedded right inside of Logic. This is for the 5580 and 5380s. That's what they're showing on the screen. And that's really cool. I know a lot of vendors already do this. It's great that Rockwell's doing this now too. It's a little disappointing that it's only on the latest platforms, but in a few years, nobody will be using on new projects, the older platforms, the 5370s or 5570s. So I guess it's okay to start with this latest platform. There's just some things you can't build into the old product sometimes, so that's understandable. But having OPC UA embedded in the controller with version 36 sounds very promising. Um, and they're saying that this will allow you to serve up tags to third-party HMIs or MESs or controllers and so on. So it'll be interesting to see how that is in practice. Um, then they talked about open connectivity. So beyond OPC UA, right? They talked about their MQTT managed library, part of the machine builder libraries, to enable the ability for Logix to, be an MQTT, um, publisher, right? Publish data via MQTT. And they also said they have an REST API managed library as part of that machine builder library. So very interesting there. I haven't tried either of those, but I did want to make you guys aware of those. From there, they started talking about um, SIP security support. Now all 5580s and 5380s have that built in as of version 34. So we did have Kristen on to tell us about version 35, and I think she did cover some of the stuff that was new in 34 as well. So in any case, this just gives you additional layer of security, which most people are going to want on new deployments. They also talked, they now have achieved in the 5380 with the version 36, the IEC 62443-4-2 certification. Now, we had ISA on to talk about that in the fall, right, between Thanksgiving and Christmas. And we're now starting to see a lot of products get that 4-2 certification. So it's good to see that Rockwell's also working on that. Now, if you're listening to the podcast, not watching it, there's a very detailed slide on this. I'm not going to read it all, but if you want to know more about that, and don't forget, like I said, in the fall, right before between Thanksgiving and Christmas, we had ISA back on to go into this in all the gory details. So with that, they did spend some time talking about the new XT corrosive gas protection. Dennis went and talked about how the standard conformal coating sometimes did not protect everything evenly on these circuit boards. So they did a lot of research and development on that, and now they have a new level of that conformal coating that is better, more evenly spread, and so on. I know I'm not doing it justice. If this is something important to you, um, you definitely want to contact Rockwell about that. They can describe the gory details about it. But they say it's tested and validated to GX and CX standards. So GX is ISA, CX is IEC. So in any case, with that, they also talked about V36 enhancements for the safety controllers. So they added that OPC UA support to the 5580 and the 5380s. They also added the safety support to access test mode. So if you have been doing any motion control, and then granular safety signatures. So this will help you. The way they described it is it's just not an all or nothing safety signature anymore for the entire project. It's granular, so it actually has different levels. So if you only change one little thing, that doesn't take everything else out of, the signature doesn't expire for everything, right? It just expires for that component. So very interesting stuff there. Um, they do have a new 1756 L85ES. So this is 2x increase in standard memory on GodLogix controllers. And they also have an XT version, which gives you that conformal coding we just talked about. Now, as far as what's new in I/O, they first reviewed all the legacy I/O that they've had out for a while, and then they went into some of the newer platforms like the Flex 5000, which has been out for a while, the Flex HA 5000, which we had the product manager on the podcast to talk about in real granular detail. We did a great job on that podcast. I thought the product manager, well, I get to meet at the automation fair, did a great job on that. We really got into details, and then they talked about the new Compact 5000 isolated analog Heart I/O modules. So these are 4-channel modules, isolated analog in and out. So IF4I and OF4I with an H at the end, indicating that they support Heart. So supports versions 7, 6, and 5 of Heart. So very interesting. I actually was talking to Indra Hauser about having him come on the show to talk about Heart. We are scheduled to have him on in a couple of weeks to talk about just to talk about some of their automation products. I forget the exact topic we're going to talk about in the first show, but excited to get them on. We cover them on the daily show all the time, so and they're great. They work with all the major vendors like Rockwell, so it'd be good to see them. Rockwell also next after talking about that the heart modules for the Compact 5000, they went on to talk about the Armor Block 5000. This product's been out for a while, but they've added some new things like IO-Link Masters and a 16-point configurable module, so you can choose, what input or output is assigned to what port. And this is it looks like all of their previous block I/O. It's block I/O, right? Or I should say on machine block I/O. But in any case, and yeah, they do have the on machine TM here. We were looking at something the other day and it didn't have it on there. But in any case, that's a trademark for on machine. So I've been trying to get away from using that term when I'm talking about other companies, IP67 IO. But in any case, very interesting. We have some of the legacy stuff here at the automation school, including some of the, I think it's the Flex 5000, so modular on machine IO. So cool stuff. They also went into the Flex 5000, which has been out for a while, and that was it. So then they went into the design software. And this slide here, if you're listening, kind of gives us a review of what happened in 34, 35, and 36. Again, I highly recommend checking out Kristen's guest appearance on our podcast last year talking about 35. She did a great job. I actually got to meet her at Automation Fair as well. But in any case, I'll give you the high points. Version 34, SIP security on Compact Logix 5380. God Logix 5580 and Compact God Logix 5380. So that's SIP security. And then they added, they greatly enhanced the download time, so reduced it, and they extended the date time data type. So, if you looked at other vendors, a lot of them were supporting all of those IEC 61131 data types, right? That I cover in my courses and including 64-bit data types, right? And that's really important when it comes to time, right? Because there's certain things you can't do, right? Some granularity you can't get to with time if you'd only have 32 bits, right? So it was great to see them add some of these new date time data types. The one that sticks out of my mind is the 64-bit, but 34 and on, you have access to that. Would love to see them do that for all of the, like other vendors do, for like timers and counters and just everything else. But in any case, easy use. Also, the import export project documentation online. So that's pretty cool. So 35, what do they do? Well, we got Flex HA 5000. We had a show on that with the product manager. That was great. They made some enhancements to the EN4TR. Okay, and that is, I believe, the only module that supports the redundancy with the Flex HA 5000, the redundant rings. I'll have to go back and look at that podcast, but there's something special about the Flex HA 5000 that maybe it's the SPA feature or something that you have to have the EN4TRs. And then a guard link. Um, they also added the sequence manager for the 5x80P process controllers and the access test mode, but not for safety. And they extended some new embedded, some of the new, they expanded the embedded instructions on the P processors to include the D4SD, the NPOS, and the Valve MP. They have also listed here component change detection. Now in 36, kind of to sum that up, you get the IO Link module for the Armor Block 5000. You got embedded OPC UA on the 5580 and 5380. You get those granular signatures, safety signatures. Um, they said they added additional relay ladder logic instructions, safety instructions. I did not see that in the presentation. We did see access test mode for safety, and motion indirect referencing again was not in the presentation. And so with that, they start digging in deeper into the OPC UA for the controllers. And one of the things I liked here was that in the tag, when you're creating a new tag, there's a brand new field. So we always had like the scope, the data type, the alias, right? The external access was added a while back, read-write capabilities or just read or no access. But they added a new selection here for OPC UA access. Is it readable? Is it rewritable? So that's good. So you have the granularity controlling if that's available via OPC or not. Um, the other thing they did was, and here you can see the granular safety signatures slide, and this kind of goes down to, did you change safety attributes? Did you change safety tag mapping? Did you change safety program tag? So that's the granularity you now get when you make a change to your program. Um, this is the generation of the report for the safety signatures, if you want to know more about that. And then a slide dedicated to the access test mode for safety task support. They also talked about the motion indirect addressing, which is big, right? To be able to indirectly address your axes, right? So provide use of an ID number reference for the axes or axis or coordinated system parameter. So that's great. You can see direct here. They have to put in like a MAM axis one, comma, MAM control, bracket zero bracket. And then here they have a for next loop, right? Or a for N4 loop where they're just going through MAM index equals 0, 2, 3, right? And then they can just loop through this um, instead of having to have each one done separately. So very interesting there. So with that, I want to switch over to View. So that's what's new in Logix. Again, we have an open invitation out to Rockwell to come back on the show. I think they've been on the show 10 or 12 times over the last few years. So always have an open invitation for them to come back on. But now we're going to go over to Factory Talk View. And this is SE and ME. It's heavy in SE. But in any case, let's go through this. So, how they're positioning it. So now they have multiple lines, right? So you have Factory Talk of View, which is ME and SE, right? So ME being a subset, typically Panel View Plus that we all know and love, been using for 20, I think 20 plus years now, right? And great stuff there. And but they also have the PanelView 5000, which is kind of like the Logix only HMI, right? With all these integrated Logix features, but you only can use it on Logix and only on Ethernet, right? And then we have the new Factory Talk optics, which I'm still trying to get my hands around. Like, how does that change things, right? What is it? I mean, it could do some really neat things that the other packages can't do. And of course, there's things that it can't do that the other packages can, but very interesting there. And so as we look at this, Factory Talk Optics, the PC-based version, kind of sits in a similar space as Factory Talk ViewSE, where the optics panel kind of sits in the same space as the Panel View Plus, Machine Edition, and View Designer. So in any case, if we look at SE, right, if you haven't used SE, it is your full-blown multi-client, multi-server SCADA system. I mean, last time I checked, and I know these numbers have increased, but you could have 5 redundant SCADA servers, right, in a system with over 80 clients, right? And you could just log into Studio, View Studio, and you could access any server and update it on the fly. And the clients, next time they pull up the page, they would see those graphical changes immediately. If you change something like the security, like if you had to upgrade somebody's security, they see it within a couple of seconds. Just really cool. And you can input all your ME stuff. Of course, you can input your old panel views into ME and then put that into SE. And of course, you can import View 32 in the SE from version 1. A lot of people don't know that. I don't know why, but from version 1, you've been able to go from View 32 to View SE. Trust me, I was doing it in the beta back when it first came out. But in any case, and the thing about Factory Talk View SE and Factory Talk Optics as well, and View ME, is you can use OPC drivers with them, right? So a lot of times we would use CAP because we could buy that through Rockwell, but you can use anybody's, and we cover them on the morning show. We've covered so many different OPC suites, including we had Softing on the demo theirs, which is cool. Theirs is the only one I found that had a demo that doesn't run for 2 hours, but runs for 72 hours. So if you need to run a test over the weekend before you buy a license, you can do that, which is really cool how Softing does that. But in any case, if you want Plant PAX, right, you're pretty much looking at Factory Talk View, either ME or SE, right? If you want a fully distributed SCADA system from Rockwell with multiple servers and clients and redundancy, View SE. If you're going to migrate from View 32, View SE is your best choice. And if you're already using Panel View Pluses and ME, then View SE is just a no-brainer because they're almost identical as far as the development environment. I mean, there are some differences, right? But having used both since beta, And what I like about them is they're like a combination of View 32 and Panel Builder 32. So you get like most of the favorite parts of both of those in it. So that's kind of where they're positioning it. One of the things with Factory Talk View ME though is, I think there's going to be a lot of competition there from Factory Talk Optics because, optics is new and it can do all kinds of cool new things that probably will never be added to Machine Edition. So that's just my opinion. Now, as far as a full-blown SCADA server, if you only needed an HMI on a PC, probably looking at Factory Talk Optics if you've never used VUSE before. But man, for your full-blown SCADA system, I think you're still going to want to stay with SE. That's just my opinion from experience using it and also from talking to Rockwell folks. Now, this slide here that I have up, this is slide number 5. It has like everything that's new in Factory Talk View version 14. We're going to just go through. I think they just cover the bold ones, which is cool. And in any case, let's go ahead and take a look at it. Now, this runtime optimization, I'm really happy they did this because, if you see the top picture here, right, if you're watching, this was something that we would run into all the time. It was frustrating, like when you resize text or drawing objects or images, they didn't really resize well. Now, if you had, SVG vector graphics, right? They resized great, but you know, the text and other images didn't always resize very well. And so this is one of the things they improved in version 14. They enhanced the overall visual quality when those old type of graphics, and a lot of times they look pixelated, they look aliased. So they really fixed that and upgraded the engine on the clients to improve that, which I think is great, right? You can see the difference here. It's just night and day. Another thing they did, which is really cool, is a runtime navigation menu, right? So in my course, I teach people how to use different screens, and you can dock one to the top or one to the bottom to be a navigation menu, and that works. But there's a lot of downsides to that like the PNV 5000 and other packages on the market have kind of got around. And so here, what they did is they added um, um, application level configurations to simplify that. So now you have this object that is the runtime navigation menu, and you can choose what you want to add to it. Do you want to add an alarm count? Do you want to add a screen a selector? You can even add a little search icon there so you can search for screens or tags or whatnot. So very interesting. There's a lot to this. You can add forward and back histories like you would have in a browser, um, diagnostic notifications, just so many cool things. It's a great feature they've added to it, including the search feature, because a lot of times you may know what you're looking for, right? Maybe PID number 5, but you don't know where it is in the system, especially if it's a very large system. So very, very cool. And it even takes care of, if you have a parameter on the screen, right? Pound 1, right? It'll take, what is that currently assigned to on the particular screen. So I can't wait to play with this at some point in the future as time allows. They also greatly improved multi-monitor display docking. So in the past, you could say, all right, I want this to go here, I want this to go there. But if somebody changed the screen resolution from, let's say, 1080p to 4K, right, everything didn't always like readjust correctly. And so now you can just tell, hey, screen 1, go to monitor 1, screen 2, go to monitor 2, and take up the whole screen. And that's really cool. Like this slide has a lot more details on it, but the auto fit feature, especially with the better resizing we just talked about, is just great for like if you're going to have 4 different monitors or multi monitors in your system, which I think most people have these days. As far as connectivity, I love this. So um, if you're using Historian with Factory Talk View, they added some things to the data grid so you can actually see more information on your screen from that historical log, right? The historian, right? And so it presents the data now in a user-friendly tabular format. They also did some things with Trend Pro, so now it will show annotations. So if you add an annotation, you can now see that in Trend Pro along with the trends that you would be, graphing. So that's cool. And they also added some new objects. They added a radar chart. Okay, so a lot of people have been asking for that. Again, there's third parties you can use, but they added a native one right into the software. They also added support for built-in .NET control for integrating with Apache eChart widgets. So there's hundreds of these free Apache eCharts available. They're open source, and so they added a .NET control object so you can access those. And if you're watching, you can see there's all kinds of bar charts, pie charts, trends, and just all kinds of different things you can do with that. And there is, the widget editor there. It looks like your typical VB script or VBA, and so they're showing that all here. I haven't played with this, but it looks really cool. The tag browser UI was upgraded. Now, if you look at the top, this is like the original tag browser from Factory Talk View, whether it's ME or SE. You have your shortcuts, and then you can browse through to the controllers. And a lot of this comes from the older software like RSView 32, and with the new one, it looks new and modern, kind of like what we see in Studio 5000, the latest versions, and everything is hierarchical, so you can drill down to things, and you can actually drill down to bits of integers, right, or dints. So in the past, if we wanted to use let's say we had a dint and we wanted to access one bit to, turn something on or off, maybe just make a like look on indicator go on and off, we'd have to actually add the bit address at the end ourselves, right? And so now that you can actually browse and expand and select the bits natively. Thank you, thank you. It's been a long 20 years, but in any case, that's a great feature. You can also see the extended properties now for, which were added a while back in Studio 5000 and Control Logix, Compact Logix. So you can also choose what columns you see, and you can hide. So it's very modern. You can filter, better filtering than originally. The original filtering in the tag browser was a little clunky. It was a contained type of filtering, so you couldn't use asterisks or anything. You just had to type in what you were looking for that was inside, like tank, and find everything that had tank in it, and so on. So it has breadcrumbs, so you can see, what you're selecting on, where it is actually in the hierarchy, and you can collapse the navigation view, so you can have the full screen to look at it. So really cool updates to the tag browser. They also added a new Data Log Pro editor, and this logs to InfluxDB, right? So instead of just doing DBS files or Microsoft SQL Server like we show in the SQL Express we show in my course, you can now use Data Log Pro to log to databases. And this really just it gives you a much more efficient logging of large amounts of time series data. So that's why they added. It's always good to have options, but the nice thing too is this is also supported in that new Trend Pro and Data Grid controls that we talked about for Historian. So those new controls can actually be used with this new InfluxDB. So you kind of get the best of both worlds there if you don't have the Historian software or OSI Pi. From there, they did add component filtering. So if you're in the Project Explorer or the project tree and you have 1,000 screens, you can now filter them. You can either do contains or starts with. In this case, they're looking for something that contains PMTR. And so I've been consulting with students who are working on big projects, and they're like, all right, pull up screen XYZ123, and it's like, man, you got like 500 screens here. Give me a minute to find it. And then it's easy to forget. Was that the prefix? Was that inside the name somewhere? That's a lot of times, the original developer doesn't follow a standard for how they name things, so it can be hard to say, is that a prefix? Is it because it used to list everything alphabetically, right? So here now we can filter through displays, global objects, parameter files, computers, groups, networks, devices, and users and groups. So that's just, I think, an excellent feature to add to the Project Explorer. As far as mobility, they did enhance the status panel, so the status portal, I should say. So this is like a built-in web page that you could access in version 13, installed automatically unless you tell it not to install. But this would allow you to say, hey, is the server running? Is the backup running? Is the primary running? And so on. Well, they extended this to go beyond just Factory Talk links, Factory Talk alignment events, um, and now they're including your client collection. Hey, how many clients are connected? What are the clients? And they also give you the Factor Talk Historian server data as well as the alarm and events dashboards. So you can actually see your monitor the status of not only your application servers, But also, I think on the next page here, it gives you like an alarm dashboard. And again, this is just a web page. You just type in the name of your server and you type in FT system status, and boom, you're going to see this. You don't need a license to see this. You don't need to have a View Studio installed. It's just a web page with a bunch of built-in stats, and it's showing you the alarm stats too. So I think that's really, really cool. And especially, I mean, you can put that up on a display, like on a TV on the side of the plant. So now, I haven't tried this, but it looks really cool. From there, they go over to enhancements and alarm and events, and I love this. So this is actually part of the FactoryTalk Alarm and Events version 6.4. So that comes with the version 14 of FactoryTalk View. But you can actually now see, along with like the value when the alarm was tripped, you can also see a live value, like what is the current value right now? Because you may not see the alarm when it first happens. So if you're coming back to the console and the alarm went off 10 minutes ago, you can see the trip value, but now you can also see the current value. And that's great because you were like, well, is it still an alarm or did it recover? Right? So I think that is definitely a cool feature. They also have added some new functions. So now just saying, active alarms, unacknowledged alarms, or acknowledged alarms, you can actually see active urgent unacknowledged alarms. You can see active high unacknowledged alarms and so on. So that's always a great feature. You can see if you're watching, you see they got a pie chart up here, and they're showing what percentage are high, urgent, medium, and low. As far as modernization, one of the features they did now that they own ASEM or Awesome, ASEM, they now you can deploy to those IPCs like they were a Panel View Plus. So I think that's pretty cool. I wish they would do that for all IPCs that actually had Machine Edition Station installed on them. But if you decide you need the power of an ASIM IPC, industrial PC, maybe it's a panel PC, you can now download your runtime to that, just like you would to a Panel View Plus, which I think is very cool. Another thing they're doing too, which I think will make a lot of people happy, is the ability to can maintain the current version of an ActiveX if you don't edit it. Okay, so in the past, a lot of times you would when you go into the system, you wouldn't be able to use the runtime because you had a new ActiveX on the panel, but the system was designed with an older ActiveX, and so now what they're saying here is that the ActiveX control version remains unchanged unless new features are added. So if you did something in version 13, you go to 14, you don't have to worry about it. The ActiveX just run. Unless you edit it, it'll just stay at version 13. And so this makes restoring older ME projects containing those old ME ActiveX controls, it just makes it so much easier. If you don't touch them, they'll just stay at the old version. As far as supported operating systems, I thought this was interesting. So I'm just going to point out the highlights here. They added Windows Server 2022 and Windows 11. All right, both 64-bit. So I'm not sure if those were in 13 or not, or we're talking 14 here. They also added SQL Server, Microsoft SQL Server 2022. What they yanked though what surprised me is I wasn't surprised about 7 and 8. We lost Windows 8 in version 11, and we lost version Windows 7 in version 12. But they also yanked Windows 10 32-bit support back in version 12 as well. So not that a lot of people are running 32-bit. It would kind of be silly because your memory limitations. I don't know if it was was it 4 gigabytes of RAM that was the 30-bit was limited to, 32-bit was limited to. But in any case, so most people are making sure they're getting 64-bit today because most people are running more than 4 gigs of RAM. Don't quote me on that, but I'm just going off the top of my head. But still surprising to see they stopped supporting it. So in summary, they talk about all the different sessions that was at Automation Fair 2023 about these products. And if you're wondering how I got these presentations when you attend, they never showed up in the app. I thought they were supposed to show up in the app like previous years where I could download it. They didn't. I actually had to send them an email and saying, "Hey, you guys ever got?" That's one of the reasons why I'm doing this so late because I didn't get them until. I'd have to check, but I think it was pretty late in December. I was actually worried that they may close access to them and I wouldn't have access. So I emailed them and they did send me the link. So if you went to Automation Fair 2023, and you haven't received a link, just contact your distributor, contact your local Rockwell rep, and ask them, say, hey, I was there, but I never get the link to download the presentations, and they should hook you up. Unfortunately, unlike previous years, they did not make it available for free. So I think they stopped doing that around the time of COVID, and they never restored free access to them, which I think is kind of sad because if you're a big customer, you should get access to them. So in that case, if you don't have access, didn't go to Automation Fair, ask your Rockwell rep or your distributor if they could download the presentations and give them to you. If I was a distributor, I would say yes. I did that job for 25 years. But because if you're a good customer, why wouldn't you want to hide this stuff from your people? But in any case, that's that. So I know I kind of rambled a little bit, but I didn't have any pre-recorded podcasts available to share with you. So I definitely wanted to share something. I really wanted to do this like 6, 7 weeks ago, and just the timing wasn't right. We had so many recorded episodes that we had to produce, and of course I've been out of the office a couple times, and now we got a new office we're trying to set up. So, in any case, but I did want to give you guys something. Let me know if you like any of these features, or feel free to write in. We have feedback links, talkback links up at the automationblog.com, and you can get in touch with me that way. But I'd love to hear what you think. What is your favorite feature? Is your favorite feature something I didn't mention? Did you think I got something wrong? Let me know. And with that, I just want to thank you for tuning in every week. I really appreciate you guys, and just want to wish you an awesome week. We do have a canned episode for next week. I believe it's with Banner, and it's a pretty exciting episode. So we're talking about all the different I/O, distributed I/O, remote I/O products they have, which is pretty cool. They've been on the show several times in the past, but this really kind of nails it down to all the different options you have. And I thought it was pretty. I really enjoyed recording the episode with them. And then following that, I think we have Siemens back on to talk about distributed I/O. And that's another great episode. And we also have one recorded with them on IPCs because didn't know anything about the IPCs. They've been so easy to schedule to come on the show. So just hats off to Siemens. And we're working with Hilscher, we're working with Unitronics, we're working with Endress Hauser. And we have a whole bunch of other people that we've conversed with that we're trying to get on the show. We also have another Tech Talks, or actually, I think two more Tech Talks coming up as well. I haven't been able to schedule those every week like I want to, but those are our live streams that would do 11 o'clock on Tuesdays. And of course, they're available after the fact as well. But so we got a lot of exciting stuff. Plus, I'll get you more pictures of the office once we start filling it in. I got another half dozen training tables coming in. I'm testing a PC right now to see if it's going to be suitable for training. And I got my son here who's setting up Slack and setting up Jira and setting up. He's ordering T-slotted aluminum so we can build the camera rigs we're going to need, and so we can move over some of the wall control as well. So a lot of exciting stuff going on. But with that, I'm going to let you go. I hope you have an awesome week. And remember, no matter what happens, stay courageous, stay fearless, and until next time, my friends, peace.